I think it's very special that you offer for your fans all the complete albums for a free download and the demo tapes and the remix of Manic Impression 2006. So that's, I think, a really good thing. Is it just the idea to have the music freely available for everybody?
Well, you know, most of the albums have all been out of print. I believe you can still buy Screams and Whispers and Manic Impressions through digital download through iTunes. But other than that, the albums have been physically out of print for years. The first two albums were released through Active Records from the UK, and they've been gone for years and years. So I just, you know, when the internet started becoming more popular, and I started just, I was approached by a guy who had a website where he did write-ups on several different bands. He was a big ANACRUSIS fan, and he helped me put together sort of a little tribute site to the band back in around, I think, 1998 or 1999. And I wrote a history of the band on there, and then I just decided to start posting things because, you know, like I said, the music was out of print. I've met so many people this last year who didn't even know ANACRUSIS when we were still as a band. Many people got into the band after the fact through the website, through downloading the music, and you know, and I still have, fans of the band still tell me they go buy the CDs when they can find them, just because, you know, they're very loyal. They want to own the actual things themselves anyway, even though they're online for free. So I think it's really kept the band alive over these years. I think a lot of people, seems to me that more people know us now than knew us back then, it seems. And I think a lot of that has to do with the website. You know, I'm a big fan of music too, and I know as far as the old demos and those the bits and pieces and all those unfinished recordings, that's the kind of stuff I always love, you know, those rare recordings, and you get to hear how a song began and where it ended up. And I, as a fan myself of music, I just try to think of what I would enjoy a band that I was into to do. So that's what I try to do with the website. I tried to put up all kinds of interesting things for people that are interested in ANACRUSIS, and just figure share them with everyone. There's no place else to get those recordings, so I figure I may as well put it out there.
Ken, I recall early 90s, it was a little bit a strange situation with ANACRUSIS. Nobody really knew which album was the first one. There was Suffering Hour and there was Reason Around, and they came almost at the same time and weren't even available in the US, I think.
Yeah, what happened was Bernard Doe, who was the editor from Metal Forces magazine, the legendary UK metal magazine of the 80s, he was the one who first put us on the compilation album back in 1987 from the old Annihilation Complete demo, and then he was scouting and recruiting bands for what was Axis Records, which became Active Records out of the UK. So they signed us, and they released Suffering Hour, but at the time, that was 1988, there was no U.S. distribution, so the only way to get the album here was on vinyl through an import. And then about 1989 or so, we hooked up with Metal Blade for a distribution deal and recorded Reason, and so Metal Blade then distributed Reason when it was released in 1990, and then Suffering Hour at the same time or right after it. So a lot of people were confused, as like you say, as to which was the first, which was the second. So that's the story on that. It just was only available as an import, Suffering Hour, that is, until like 1990, most places.
Ken, so the career of ANACRUSIS was less than 10 years in the 80s and in the 90s. So what was your personal highlight during these times? Maybe an open, silly journalist question, but I'm sure you have some highlights to tell us.
Oh, that's a good question. Not to be negative, there were a lot of lowlights, I'll be honest with you. A lot of frustration and things dealing with, it's a different world now. It's a lot easier to get things done yourself than it was 20 years ago or more. But definitely highlights were, doing some of the tours, touring with Overkill, getting to open for the band I was in before ANACRUSIS. I got to open for Metal Church. I was thinking of Merciful Fate. We got to tour with them just before we went to Europe in '93.
That was Heaven's Flame, the band before, right?
Right. Yes. In Heaven's Flame, we actually got to open for Metal Church here in St. Louis. One show, one of only a few shows they did on their first tour. And I just got my old LPs from my parents' basement this week, and I still have my Metal Church LP with David Wayne with his autograph on the inside order form, he was definitely a big influence on me. But back to the ANACRUSIS, definitely the biggest highlight, and this is probably sad, was the last tour. Finally getting to go to Europe. We had people writing us letters and sending us things for years and years, because we always had much more notoriety in Europe, it seemed, than we did here in the States. And so each time we would hope to get over there and there would maybe be a tour, and it wouldn't happen. And so when Chuck from Death personally invited us over, we were thrilled. Now, unfortunately, we were all becoming so very frustrated at that time. We all kind of knew the band probably wouldn't be continuing much longer unless something really changed. But the shows we did in Germany with Death were amazing for the most part, particularly some of the German shows. And it just was, it was great. I wish it would have come a little bit sooner. It may have really had a big impact on us. We may have actually continued on if we had gotten a little bit more of that feeling earlier on. I mean, it was very frustrating to tour here with Overkill or with Merciful Fate and open up for 2 or 3 other bands and play like 30-minute sets, with like 3 or 4 albums. It's very frustrating, and most people still didn't know who we were. And then so we get to Europe, and there are people wearing the shirts and singing the words. It's just it's a whole different feeling. And so definitely the highlights were some of those shows I think that we did with Death.
So the final question may be a frustrating one, Ken, but we would like just to know from your perspective, why did ANACRUSIS not work anymore after Screams and Whisper?
It's really not that complicated. I mean, we began the band in a couple of us I was just out of high school. 2 of the guys, Kevin and Mike, were still seniors in high school. Young guys living at home with their parents, and then you fast forward 7 years and we're married and trying to make a living and trying to pay our bills, and it's just harder and harder thing to do as you get older. If you're not making any money, we're not getting much support. It didn't seem like the band was really ever going to get very well known, and so it became more of a personal mission of trying to create music that we loved and try to release music that we could be proud of, and that's really what we focused on. And in that respect, I think we succeeded there. I don't know what would have happened if we would have tried to do another album. I think we were very frustrated with what happened after Manic Impressions, and then putting our hearts and souls into Screams and Whispers again, and feeling that nothing was really ever going to change as far as the label or as far as the support went. I just, the reasons are all, there was never any one thing. We were all friends. We all remained friends over the years. We all still lived in town here, hung out all the time over the years, and so it wasn't really anything personal. It just was more of a matter of it had run its course, and I didn't think there was any place we could go from where we were that would be better than what we left with. So it just felt like it was time to move on.
So Ken, thank you very much that you took your time to speak with us and to let us know some of the insights of ANACRUSIS, and we hope really that you will be productive somehow and that the band will make the one or other appearance in Europe within the next years.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for having me on, and I hope the same thing. I hope we do get another chance to come and play again. We had such a great time that it would be definitely would be something we would enjoy to do again.
Okay, good luck with everything, and thanks again.
Okay, thank you.